don't know how that happened.
The room smells good.
It's not me.
No, yeah. Gee, come on.
It smells good, it's not.
It smells like it's just been cleaned.
Yes. Approval of the minutes of February 18th.
So moved.
I'll abstain.
Second, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Manifest approval, $28,595.93, dated February 18th, and $98,338.82 dated February 25th.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
second, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Facility use, there's three people who wanna use the facility, Peter Latchoff of Seacoast Lacrosse. Use the Old Town Hall Field Monday through Friday, March through May. Geez, so, is that a younger group or an older group?
Yeah, it's a, I don't know, what would you call younger? It's a younger group, not high school or anything, and,
Okay,
Girls and
it's a
boys.
recreation.
yeah, girls and boys.
We've done it in the past.
We've never done it, they've
We've done the
always
soccer.
practiced at Portsmouth High School, but this year they're redoing the track, so no one can practice there, so.
Wanna do them all at once or one of
Yeah,
them?
let's do them all at
I'll
once.
make a motion, we approve them.
Alright, for Recreation Committee, Old Town Hall, April 5th, the next egg hunt.
Yeah.
And school supporters, Old Town Hall, September 12th, road race.
Road yeah.
Good.
Motion's been made and seconded,
Yes.
discussion? New business. Background checks on volunteers.
We currently require background checks for all town employees. And we, and the library, of course, requires background checks too. We've been thinking more that it would be important for any volunteer that's involved with our children to also be required to go through a background check. That's a criminal records check that's performed by state police. And I talked to the chairman of the rec committee, and she understands the reasons for doing this. I would recommend that the board require it moving forward for all rec committee members.
And there's a fee the town pays?
The town pays the $25 fee.
I would make a motion, and I'm certainly in favor of this, that anyone that comes in contact with children, I think it's very wise for us to do the background check. And I believe it's what, $25?
Yeah.
That's a small amount to ensure the safety of our kids.
Absolutely, I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great Bay nitrogen permit deadline extended.
The board has in your packet a news article on the Great Bay nitrogen deadline. And I believe there was recently a meeting that our sewer commissioners attended,
Yes,
or
yeah.
plant manager.
The plant manager did. They're monitoring for us. I think we're on top of it. Dennis and I've talked to the sewer commission on this. They're following up on it diligently. And I think we're in good shape. Sometimes the feds are pushing us a little too far on some of it. Some of the bigger towns, some of the biggest cities, Portsmouth, Rochester, and Dover, have a different agenda than the smaller plants, but we're all working towards the same thing and get the nitrogen level down. I think we're on the right course. And at the next meeting, hopefully I'll have a written report for the board.
I have a question.
Please.
The question deals with the PDA land and the two drainage ditches that drain surface water out into the bay through the drainage ditches. The question is, does PDA check for any of those levels, specifically nitrogen level?
Good question.
We have no idea what's going out of those drainage ditches, Flagstone, and what's the other one on the other side of town by the basketball courts? McIntyre.
I can't specifically address this, but I can find it out. I know that the Air Force and it's RAB, the Restoration Advisory Board, do reports on all of this. And they do check the brooks and the streams, the shellfish, and the live fish in the bay from time to time. I know there's a report that's been done. Specifically, I can't give it, I will find it out, Ken, and get a copy for us. Yeah, I know that it has been monitored.
And I believe you requested, and I followed up with the engineer for PDA.
They sent us one report.
Did that have nitrogen levels in it?
To be very honest, it probably had 900 different
Okay,
chemicals on it. And what we'd like to focus on is the nitrogen, where
thank you.
so much of that property in there is mowed,
Right.
fertilized.
Mhm.
So where's it going?
In the bay.
And we have a meeting, I don't have the date, I do have the date, the 12th?
Yeah, that's in the other room,
12th,
yes.
Ken and I go on to PDA and meet with the engineer and John Green to find out the status on all of those, about the new hot dog plant that's going in and other things that are going in. We're going at 2 o'clock, I think it's the 9th,
I have that.
12th.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad we're doing that.
Yeah. Seriously.
We're all concerned about that smell now coming from the other side of town, having it on the highway side. It wouldn't be good to be up by the airport side either.
Yeah, it's March 12th at 2 o'clock. With,
March 12th?
yeah.
Well, that's
Maria.
next week.
Yeah,
Got it.
okay. Any other questions on this? Old business?
We actually have
Oh.
the explosive. We do have our police chief here who wanted to,
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
we do have some good news. The board is, we are told by town council, able to go ahead and approve an explosive K-9 trust for the police department. They have raised so far $12,100.31 to be put into the trust, actually even more than that, right, chief? Because some expenses have already been incurred?
Correct. So what we had to do is, Andrew Wood goes to training next week. And we had to get the dog early, so we took $3,000 out of the account where the money was for the Police Officers Association, used that for the dog. And then obviously prescriptions for the dog when it went to the vet. Dog's in good health, I'll let you know that. So we'll be putting in $12,131 into the trust fund.
Great.
That's wonderful, chief, that
Well,
money
nice
right
job.
up front.
It's a nice job fundraising.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it continues. We're expecting another 1,000 coming in and 600 coming in April. So
Super.
yeah, so
Nice job.
we're excited.
How long do you go to training for?
It's 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how the handler and the K-9 work together. And again, that's down in Connecticut. So
When Officer Wood comes back, he'll have the dog, and what's the dog's name?
Augie,
Augie.
yes.
Would you ask Officer Wood if he would come in with Augie and introduce him here to the town hall?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. He will.
Personally to Mr. Latchow.
Thank you,
That's
Chief.
great, thank you. We need a motion,
So moved.
Second.
discussion?
And
Oh.
just for the record, let me read that motion to
Yeah,
you,
please.
because it's setting up a trust. Move to set up an explosives K-9 trust under its RSA 39:19, authority to do so as conferred by the 1994 Newington Town Meeting, Article 17, which adopted RSA 39:19, and to transfer sum of $12,100.31, which has been received as a donation by the police department for this purpose.
Did you get that, Eleanor?
Yeah.
And can you add it, would you add please in the minutes that, we congratulated the chief for a job well done?
Right, absolutely.
Well, put in the minutes also, it wasn't all the chief. It was definitely a lot of hard work
Well,
from
you're not
everybody
getting
else.
enough out of it. Don't try putting words in our mouth.
Nice try.
It's on tape.
Yeah, very true, thank you. So all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we get on old business, right?
Right.
Sorry.
So
No, personnel policy update?
The board has, the revisions to the policies in front of them that you've reviewed, and I would recommend that you adopt them.
Martha, I'd like to thank you for taking this project on, and when you have an opportunity, I know it's rush season right now, but in the next few weeks or next month, meet with the department heads and walk them through these updates.
Will do.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote. Hannah Lane drainage issue update.
The board has a memorandum from Altus Engineering regarding the Hannah Lane work that needs to be completed, and removal of leaves from the drainage ditch that need to be worked on. And we're in the process of developing a brief bid sheet, and it will go out to contractors for quotes.
Great. Will we entertain a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second.
Second, discussion?
Yes, I'd like to add that when we have a person to do the job, that we make it clear that we would like them to be speedy about it and not start it, leave,
Oh,
come
yeah.
back, leave, come back. When they start it, complete it.
Absolutely.
Good-
That's a
good point.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed?
Do have a couple of informational
Please.
items for the board in your left-hand pocket. I've given you a list of abatement requests to date. It's certainly eye-opening.
Um,
In
Left
the
pocket,
left-hand
I only
pocket
had,
behind your agenda.
all I had was an agenda.
Read it this way.
All right.
That's right, Mike, that's the one.
Okay.
Okay.
EP Newington, the town opinion of assessment is $330 million. The company opinion of assessment is $150 million. So that's a difference of $180 million. Newington Station, our other power plant, we assessed it at $72 million. Their opinion is $58 million, so there's another $14 million difference. Fox Run Mall, we assessed it at $48 million. They are of the opinion it's worth $30 million for a difference of $18 million. And Eversource, all of the power lines and that utility owns, we assessed it at $38 million. They are saying it's $17 million, so a difference of $21 million. Northeast Medical, we have a difference of $1 million of opinion, and GP Gypsum is saying that they are assessed $7 million too high. That's for a grand total of $241 million, which of course could have a dramatic effect on our tax rate, over $2 per thousand if all of these abatements were successful. The town assessors and utility assessors are working on these, analyzing them, and they will give recommendations to the selectmen as we proceed.
We have had numerous meetings with our attorneys and assessors on this already, and we will continue, because the numbers are just so staggering that we will work hard to resolve these issues, and the $241 million is 1 ton of dough, and it's $2 plus, as Martha says, in the tax rate.
Well, if we're up around $10, we're under that. That would be $2.41 raise if they all went through, and that's not acceptable.
Right, absolutely not.
And thanks to Selectman Latchow, who wrote a great letter in our newsletter about the utilities and where we stand. So that was,
And that newsletter went out today?
Right.
Or will be out
it'll
this
go
week.
out tomorrow,
Yeah.
right, it'll be in
So
people's
everybody in
mailboxes.
town will see this and they'll see what we're dealing with.
Right,
Right.
That's good.
it's mind-boggling, but it's,
Yeah.
I think we've got a good team working on this right now.
Absolutely.
And then I'm sorry,
Excuse me, I was just gonna say, can you keep us appraised closely of the other than power plants? The power plants, we had that whole professional team but it would be interesting to see how the discussions and negotiations move forward with those places that are not the power plants. Thank you.
Will do. And then moving on to our good old KC-46A Pegasus aircraft.
Really?
The Air Force, actually the Air National Guard, has requested that the selectmen come to an open house. The name of one of the 12 aircraft is Spirit of Newington, as we've
Absolutely.
discussed before. So
Absolutely.
that's on May 16th. They'd
May
like the
16th.
board to attend that open house.
That's
And
an all-day open house, no specific time, right?
no specific time, no.
Would you check to see if they have a specific time that
Yeah.
they wanna make sure we're there?
Yeah, I don't wanna be there at 8.
Especially if they have something that's autographed.
And could we bring grandchildren?
For an airplane ride?
Well, I don't know if I'll go that far, but to let them see the airplane.
I will.
Okay, that's
Thank
good,
you.
that's good. Finally, we're getting around to maybe we'll get the picture of the Spirit of Newington we've been asking.
Right, well, what I liked about that, Mr. Chairman, if I may, is when we went, and they first brought the plane in, and, they recognized us as a selectman, that we were at that meeting, and, they said that, the first time that, a guard service got a first off the line aircraft.
Right.
It was named the Spirit of Newington, which I thought was very prideful for us, and I'm very proud about that. Thank you,
Very good.
Mr. Chairman.
Anything else?
That's all I had. Did you have anything else on me? Nope, I'm good.
I got something on the, if I may, I got a call from one of our, town people concerning about the water issues. Seems the water seems to be a problem, some properties along the other end of town, facing going towards Mott's Pond. Have we heard anything from the DOT on Mott's Pond?
I haven't. Our town engineer was working on that. I
Okay,
will
'cause
find out.
I know that the, gentleman who called me is quite concerned that, we may not have been moving fast enough. I told him, that we have to move with the DOT, not the DOT, the,
Water people.
water people, excuse me, from the state, and it's up to them when they get back to us, and well, whether we can do anything with Mott's Pond, dropping the flow of the pond, the level of the pond, or not. I told him I would bring the issue up with you, which I've done, and, if we could, Martha, somehow respond to him, I'll give you his name if you'd like it, and respond to him, just say, yes, we are waiting for them from the state to let us know if we can or not drop that pond.
Good.
Because as you know, once a pond is made, it comes under the jurisdiction of the state.
And I imagine with an inch of rain last week, it makes it a little.
Oh,
bit
yeah,
now.
and some more probably coming for the spring,
Yeah.
so I did what I was asked, okay?
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Anything else, come up? Motion to adjourn?
Absolutely, so moved.
Second.
All in favor, vote.
Thank you.
You're gonna be